So Naam, hello everyone. Welcome to the stream. Today we have the topic of questions. What is the art of asking questions? Asking questions is the main instrument that we utilize as teachers, as consultants, as therapists, when we have to guide somebody to find some particular path in their life. It is through questions that we are going to help them, serve them to find that place. By giving long speeches, it could be inspiring to somebody, but it's the most effective way for somebody to be moved in a particular direction is by asking questions. And so we are learning numbers. Numbers are interesting because they come up in the language, and by hearing the numbers in somebody's language, we can identify where they are. And if we know where they are and we know where they are coming from, we know in which direction they are moving, so we can, through questions, help them move in that direction. So today we're going to dedicate the day to this, talking about where do questions come from? What is the intention behind questions? Why should we even ask questions? How are we going to formulate the questions? What is the internal structure of a question? How would a question help me to move in a particular path? How would a question help to stimulate a particular number or axis of numbers, 1 and 9, 2 and 8, 3 and 7? All these we do it through questions, and there is a whole art and a science and a mystery and a lot of things behind this concept of asking questions. How we're going to be exploring this in a little bit of detail today. We're not going to go like super deep, but we are going to find a little bit of depth in this concept of questions. I'm basing today's video from a training that Shiv Charan Singh did in Spain in 2006. It was 3 days training, I think it was. So we're going to condense 3 days in about an hour. So it's not going to be as deep as we could go, but it's going to be enough for the beginning. So let's take the concept of questions, and we're going to start exploring the diagram of the date of birth in a different way. So let me do this drawing that we have been exploring. You remember with the date of birth, we were putting it like this in this diagram. This is just a way to plot 1 and 9, 2 and 8, 3 and 7, 4 and 6, and 5 and 10. So anytime we want to explore a new topic now, we can do this. And 5 is the number of words. So you can already see the numbers here. This would be 1 and 9, 2 and 8, 3 and 7, 4 and 6, and 5 and 10. So what we do is, if we have a new topic that we want to explore, in this case, the topic is questions, we can put it in the middle. Questions. And now we're going to explore everything that is connected to questions, and we're going to find related to the different parts of the diagram. I'm going to try to be in order, following a certain order, 1, 2, 3, 4, but there may be things that may come up spontaneously, and I will just put them wherever it has to go. So we will just improvise if it's necessary. I'm going to base what I'm putting in every one of these quadrants based on the beginnings of a dictionary that we already have from previous videos. So if you haven't watched this, it may help to understand why am I putting something here or something here. But at the end of the day, if you're not really interested into going into numbers in depth, you can just hear the discourse and my reflections upon asking questions, and they will be useful anyway if you don't know which number you are right now. But the idea is this. Let's say we are taking somebody who is in their date of birth, and we were exploring this the other day with the life sequences and the swastika and so on. So if somebody is moving through a life sequence and we detect that we are let's say we are here and we come from here, we've done 1, 2, and the 3 is not coming up. So knowing what kind of questions can I ask to make these 3 come up, that's going to be very useful. So that's why to understand how to formulate questions is going to be very relevant later on when we apply this to, as I said, being a consultant, being a teacher, being a trainer, being a therapist, anybody who has to interact with other people, even if you are just, you have a job, but you have some people that work for you and you have to interact with them. Communication is very important. So having these tools of asking questions can help a lot to, let's say, manage a team of people. So let's start with the 1 and the 9. Well, the 1 and the 9, the 1 tells us about the origin, where we are, and the 9 tells us about the destiny, where we want to go to. So it's about the direction and an objective. So as we formulate a question, are we clear which objective am I pursuing? Why are we asking this question? Sometimes we ask questions just to be curious, or just to be kind to someone, or just to, because you don't know what to do, so you ask a question. But ideally, we should have a specific direction of where are we moving the conversation to, and having a sense of where is this going to. So everything I'm going to say now, everything we're going to be putting here is not something that we can do every single time that we are asking a question. It's not something that we are going to have present in every question that we ask. But if we do the work and figure out the basic elements of formulating questions, then that's going to influence us. It's going to stay behind us, so that when we ask questions, somehow part of that is going to influence and it's going to help. It's impossible to be conscious of every single element at once. But this would be the basic elements. One is this, the direction and the objective. In which direction are we moving? Where is this conversation going? By asking this question, what am I doing? Sometimes we ask questions, especially questions around the topic of why something happened, that are just going to help us go deeper into either the drama or the story or the fascination with the story, that is not going to serve any purpose and it's not going to serve the other person. We're just going to get trapped more into the story. And you may have experienced that you're talking to somebody and you just want to change the topic or change the conversation, or you even just want to go away. and then they are talking and you are like, don't ask anything else. You don't want to ask anything else. And then somehow they are creating the vacuum, and then you go and ask another question, and that kind of triggers them to go into 10 more minutes, right? And you're like, why did I even ask? So if we're going to ask something, what is the purpose? What is the direction? What is the objective of that question? 1 and 9. 1 is the most personal of the numbers, and the 9 is the most impersonal of the numbers. You will remember from the introduction to Karam Kriya, the lower numbers are personal, the higher numbers are impersonal. So 1 is the lowest, 9 is the highest. So in a relationship, when we are talking about any topic, sometimes a person goes too much into the personal, and maybe they are even trapped or too attached to their particular story of whatever happened, and the need is for going up into the abstract. So the question would be focused towards the 9, focused towards the more abstract concept. And sometimes it's the other way around. Sometimes somebody, that when they are speaking, everything is abstract, everything is like metaphors, everything is generalizations, and you want them to get personal. They are talking about what people can do. No, I want to know you, what you can do, right? So you want to go down into the specifics and personal aspect. So is the question directed towards the personal and therefore specific, or the impersonal and therefore the generic? And then later, when we explore this, we will see what kind of questions are going to help for this what kind of questions for this and for every one of these. Yeah. If there is any question, you can write in the chat. 1 and the 9. Sometimes when we ask a question, and we ask a question, let's say when we are opening a spiritual book, right? We are asking, we have an internal question and we want an answer to, and then we come to the teachings, and then we're exploring a question. And sometimes instead of a question, instead of an answer, we're going to find a command. So some questions that we formulate, the answer to that question is not actually something that is going to satisfy my need to ask that question, but it's actually something that is a command that is going to tell me what I have to do. And so asking a question that is going to trigger that kind of command, you have to check whether the person is ready to go into that, following that command. But that's interesting when we are asking questions, not only to a person, but when we are asking internal questions to ourselves, because this is questions in general, not just to another person. This is also for ourselves. Am I ready to ask that question, which sometimes we already know the answer to? You know, some of the most essential internal questions that we have, if we look deeply and sincerely inside, we already know the answer to those questions. And yet, often we ask the question to distract ourselves or to pretend that we don't know. Because if we actually did go to that essence and formulated sincerely that question, the answer would be a command. And we know what we would have to do. It's just that we don't want to do it. Maybe we are lazy, or we are afraid, or whatever reason. So these questions also are sometimes going to be linked to this command. There's a different type of questions as well, linked to the 1 and the 9. The 1 and the 9, you will remember, it's the earth, and it's what is hidden in the earth. It's the stone, but what is hidden? It's the bones, it's the skeleton that is under the, like an archaeology. You have, you're walking in a mountain, and then you see something that could be a fossil, like a fossilized bone, and then you want to clear out all the rubble or the earth to find the skeleton that is hidden behind. And you have to be soft enough that you are not going to break anything of what you are finding, which is like a treasure, right? You find something very valuable. You're just having a hike in the mountain, and then suddenly you find this, what could be a bone. And then as you start removing the earth, then there's a whole dinosaur there. And it's precious, and it's something to be admired. But to get there, you have to be taking away all the earth. And then you cannot do it with a feather, because then the earth doesn't go away. But you cannot do it with an axe or a pickaxe, because then you're going to break the bone. So you have to find the right tool, right? And questions are tools to actually be removing the earth in such a way that you reveal the bones. Does it make sense? So you are helping to reveal the bones from the earth. Now, when we are with somebody and they are telling us a story, the story is like the earth. And sometimes if you listen to the numbers, you will experience that feeling that is like, there's something else behind that story. It's like sensing there is a little bit the tip of a bone coming out, or sensing by the structure. Yeah, you see the face, the structure is like, oh, there's probably a bone here. So you sense something within the structure of the story, or the feeling of the story, and then you're like, I think there is a bone, and there's a treasure there, something very valuable, and maybe it was hidden for a long time, and they don't even know it's hiding there. So it's a very old story. They've looked at it many times, but there's something hiding underneath, and you can help them to bring it out. How? Through questions. So questions can be this tool that can be, let me just write this, I've said it already twice, tool. Tool is something that we utilize, is like linked to the fire. Fire became our first tool, to defend from wildlife predators who are coming to our cave and to help us cook and make other tools. So it's a tool, it's like a scalpel. It can be utilized to harm. You can fight with a scalpel, you can cut somebody and damage them. You can utilize it to serve someone. With a scalpel, you can open a wound and clean a festering wound and find healing. So it's a tool. How do you use these questions? Sometimes some questions are utilized in a way that they are harming. Sometimes they could be serving. So by utilizing the right kind of question, you can employ them with that objective to clear out all the earth and reveal the treasure. It's like an X-ray machine. You've seen something, you've sensed something in the conversation, and through questions you can reveal what is hiding underneath. Satnam John, and hello my daughters, you are connected again. Noah and Holly, I think those are my daughters. This is the handle from their mom, and they are probably connecting from their tablet. Hello, Noah and Holly. Satnam John, welcome to the stream. We are talking about questions today, how to formulate questions, what is the different kinds of questions that exist, the internal structure of questions, the objective of questions, and then we will see the questions that are going to help us move in one direction or another. So this treasure, this X-ray, this is the ones we were just saying, is like going back to the hidden treasure and uncover it through asking these questions. Now, we could see this also when somebody is speaking and we are hearing a lot of their mind, but we don't hear their soul. Their soul is hiding. So by asking questions, we can do the X-ray beyond the mind and see the internal soul speaking there. So the questions oriented towards in this quadrant would be to connect to the soul, to find the voice of the soul, to find out what is the soul trying to say. So this is the 1 and the 9. Already the tool came up from the 3 and 7, but let's go to the 2 and the 8. Let's try to be in order. Now 2 and the 8 are the roots. The roots are looking for water. They need the water, the water and prana energy, and this is what the tree needs. Now, this is then needs. So, is it about asking what their needs are? Sometimes a person, they may be talking about any topic and they seem that they cannot move forward, they are feeling stuck, or they are feeling that something that somehow they don't have the capabilities to get to the next step. So you need to talk about needs. What is the need that they are lacking? What are they feeling that they lack in order to be able to advance? So I'm talking about how we may utilize questions to find slow on Wi-Fi. Okay. It might be, well, I am emitting at 60 frames per second and high definition, so it should be okay. I don't see any problem on my end. I don't know if it's your mobile phone, maybe your mobile phone is receiving it slower. I don't know. Who knows? The system. Anyway, so this is about the needs of the person, but it's also about the needs of the person who is asking questions. So we should ask ourselves, why do I need to ask this question? Is this question necessary? We very often ask questions when we feel that we need to fill some sort of void or emptiness, and that's linked to our need to fill the void. Now, number 2, when you come into the 2, it creates this separation, and there's a middle, there's a void. So sometimes we feel that we need to fill that void, and we do it with a question, but we should ask ourselves whether that question is necessary or even relevant. It works? Okay, thank you, Isabel. And Satnam, I don't know if I said Satnam. Good to have you here. Good to see you. All right. So, okay, now, great. Let's carry on then. So the 2 and the 8 are the water. This is the part of the tree that is going to be, the roots that is going to be giving energy and life. So it's about vitality, life and death, healing and disease. So this is the question that is going to bring. Questions are going to bring life and death to issues. So by asking something, we are going to let's put it like this: life and death. I don't try to be dramatic, okay? This is also drama. This is the quadrant of drama. What I mean is that sometimes by asking more questions on the topic that is being talked about, it gives more life. It gives more fuel, if you wish. It's like fueling. It's like, this is the fuel. Yeah, the roots bring the fuel to the tree. This is like we are increasing the amount of energy that the person is giving to that topic. And sometimes the opposite, through our questions, we can divert the prana, the energy that is invested into this, to invest it somewhere else. So we could check how much do we want to engage into that conversation, or should we divert it? Very often, particularly when I have clients, very often people, they spend too much time thinking about something that has happened. And then they evaluate it and reevaluate it and criticize themselves and judge themselves or doubt themselves, insecurities and doubts. And then comes all the judgments with the shame and the guilt and all that. And we trigger all these mind games because we are fueling it up with our time that we give it and prana that we give to this question. So we get very attached to that. So one of the powers of questions is that it can take our attachment out of a topic and bring it somewhere else. So we can be present with somebody and think, well, am I really serving them by keep asking questions about this thing that is an issue for them? This is particularly important for the therapeutic environment, because the moment that somebody comes to therapy is because they have some issue they want to deal with, maybe some trauma. And how often do you see somebody who go to therapists for years and years and years just to again go to the drama, And the thing with the roots, we are talking about the roots of the tree, it's like trying to remove the roots of a tree. If you take a root and then you're pulling away from one root, the root divides into two, and it's like, oh, maybe this is important, this is also important. Okay, let's pull away from this one, and then this one divides into two, up to infinity, right? To 1d8. So by going deeper and deeper and deeper through our questions, is that really serving? So we need to check when that is a service to keep going there, because maybe there's a treasure and we just need to keep polishing and then eventually going in this direction, towards the 1. Or we have to go in this direction towards the 4, and then in the 4 and the 6 is the warrior and is the sword. Sometimes we just need to cut. Some questions are there to cut. I said it's a tool, it's an instrument like the scalpel. Sometimes we need to cut to stop that kind of conversation, to stop. So some questions are designed to stop. To stop what? The investment, the attachment, the fuel and the prana and the life that they are giving to that topic. So it's a way of finding the death of that topic, a way to help the person to detach themselves from that issue. This is all a little bit abstract today. We are just talking in general terms about the way of asking questions. It would be much more, we could do this into an example and then have a consultation between two people and identify what kind of questions are giving more fuel to the topic or which kind of questions are cutting the topic. That would be going into an example, a particular example. But that's generally, I find it difficult to do in this kind of environment in YouTube. YouTube, I find it much easier to talk about the theory and the abstract level rather than the actual practice. But hopefully it's of service anyway to ask these questions. So this, I mentioned, this is the drama, yeah? So how can I stop this attachment to the drama? Yeah, how can I stop the attachment to the drama, and how can I make this topic die? How can we eliminate the energy invested into this old topic? And then there's also dead questions. There's some questions that are just, they have no life. They don't serve any purpose. Remember this, one of the aspects of questions is, what is the objective of the question? Well, sometimes questions don't serve any purpose except just comply with the basic social laws, norms that we have. For example, here in Portugal, there is, whenever two people meet, the most common thing that they would say to each other is, tudo bem? Tudo bem? Which means, is everything okay? Everything all right? And they are not, this is like in English when we say, how are you? Or what's up? How is it going? When somebody is saying that, they don't really want to know how you are most of the time, right? 90-something%, they are telling you, I recognize that you are another social creature. We are in society, so I'm going to say the thing to connect with you and to engage with you. And maybe that will serve as an opening to have a deeper, meaningful conversation. But it's more like I was just thinking in computer science, a handshake algorithm. It's like two networks trying to talk, and they first have to say, are you there? Yes, I'm here. Do you understand my language? Yeah, I understand. Okay, can we start talking? Yes, okay, let's start talking. So something like that, right? So when somebody asks, hey, how are you? And you're, oh, fine, how are you doing? So that's like it's an inert question. It doesn't have any life by itself. And tudo bem, they ask you, tudo bem, you're not like, actually, not so well. Today I have some pain here in my back, and I woke up a little bit with the itchy nose and a lot of tissues, and my head is a bit with high. They don't want to hear all that, right? So when they're asking tudo bem, they just went, oh, sí, tudo bem, tudo bem. They just want to know, fine, can we, have we broken the ice, let's say. Now, because we are yogis and yoginis, and we like to stimulate consciousness, it's an interesting exercise to spend a few weeks trying to, every time, it's an exercise, I'm going to propose it, all right? It's a lot of fun. Every time somebody uses a dead question like this, and they come and they approach you and they say, how are you? Reply in a completely different and unexpected way. Okay, it's a challenge. If you want, you can take it and explore it. Rather than answering, yeah, I'm fine, how are you? Rather than doing that, answer something completely out of the blue, and let's see what happens. And enter into the unknown, right? Just open the space for the unknown and to get out of the region of what we expect out of our regular conversation. So that's my proposal for you, and then see how it happens, and then you can come back and let us know how was your experience. But that's generally a lot of fun, exploring new ways. So let's go to the 3 and the 7. I mentioned that it's a tool, and it's about how you utilize it. It can be to harm, it can be to serve. One of the ways we utilize questions is to manipulate people. Now, by itself, the word manipulate sounds pretty bad, and in general it is. Like, we are trying to get people to do or to think whatever you want them to do or to think, and that's a lot of influence on somebody, and that also comes from a position that you know better, so there's the ego there. And so in 90-something% of the cases, we should check that. By asking this, am I trying to manipulate the person into something? However, if you are in the right context, like a therapist or a teacher, you may need to do that. If the person who is coming to you and they are paying you some money to have a therapy with you or consultation, they expect you to help them get out of the situation where they are. So some questions may be necessary to have that element of manipulation in some way. To manipulation comes from man. Man is mano is hand. You can say man is mind, yeah? But manipulate comes from the hand, utilize your hand. So it's kind of like giving a hand. Sometimes a person needs a hand to get out of a situation where they are, and they expect you to give them that little tweak, otherwise they wouldn't come to you. So that little manipulation may be necessary, but that's very, very challenging to be. So it's very, very challenging not to create any karma when you start doing the manipulation. Sometimes it's necessary to manipulate in some way. Are you sure you mean that? Don't you really mean the other thing? Or do you really want to do that? Which, by your tone and the way you are speaking, you can already be implying that that's not a right course of action. And look, if you are the teacher and you detect that if they go in that way, it's just going to be a painful path to take, and it's going to be a hard process, lots of karma and suffering, and you want them to avoid that if it's possible. So you may subtly do that. However, when the moment that you start manipulating, to remain neutral is extremely difficult. So in general, we would try to avoid this form of questions, manipulative questions. Then when we're going to ask, we will ask ourselves what is the actual structure of the question. And maybe we can talk a little bit about what is the right structure of a question. We can talk a bit more about this after we go on with this table. The 3 and the 7 is about seeing the world, remember? It's about the vision, looking and seeing and feeling seen. So looking is also looking for something. And how often when we ask a question, we're looking for answers, yeah? But is this the only possibility? So when we are asking a question, are we just trying to look for answers? Not really. Actually, very often, I don't know where I read that. Where did I read that? I think it was Neil Gaiman, the fantasy novel writer. He was, somewhere I read, he was saying, when I was little, I realized, something like that, it might be him, I might be wrong, anyway. I realized that some questions were more interesting than the answers. Right? Asking some questions are much more interesting than the answers that people give you. Why is the sky blue is a good example. You can ask, why is the sky blue? And then, a physicist will give you a very exact and precise answer to why. And then you're like, so what? I prefer the question than the answer, unless you are a physicist and you enjoy those kind of things. And I do enjoy them. But some questions, we just prefer the question, and especially open-ended questions where there's no particular right answer. Remember that 3 and 7, the 3 and the 7 is the world of seeing, and when we see, we evaluate. When we evaluate, we judge something is right or wrong. Well, some answers are not either right or wrong. Some questions are not there to trigger a reply, which is the right or the correct one. Some questions are there just to stimulate consciousness or to stimulate self-evaluation or self-knowledge, to ask yourself, who am I? Now, that would be a topic that is more for the 5 and the 10. This is the 5 and the 10. The 5 and the 10 is about identity. We could say it's like self-knowledge. So when we are asking a question to somebody, we may formulate that question in a way that is helping them find themselves, find a part of themselves that they are not aware of, or they are trying not to look at, to bring it towards the forefront and make it more conscious. And say, well, are you really? Is that you? Is that who you truly are? So I'm doing this and this and this and that. So that's your purpose. You are doing that with which objective? Is that something that is going to serve your soul? Whatever questions you are doing may help to make them reflect upon, is that really what I want? Because sometimes we get too focused on achieving something and we forget, why did we even start the path towards achieving that thing? And then we have invested so much energy, and then there is a problem when we have invested a lot of energy into getting something. It's very hard to stop, even if we realize that's not the path we want to do. A good example would be, in the third year of a degree, you realize that that's not for you and that you will never utilize it in your life. But then maybe you have only one more year to go. You're finishing, right? It's only 6 more months or 1 more year. And then it's like, what do I do? Should I stop? Should I not? Should I carry on? And there's not right or wrong answer, because there is good things for stopping and good things for carrying on. Let's say there is some value to both of them. But that happens very often. We have invested a lot of time and energy and effort and maybe money into going in this direction, and then something is not working, and then you're asking this question, why is this not working? Can you please help me? No? So they come to you as a therapist or a teacher or whatever, and then you are like, am I serving them by trying to solve those problems? So is the objective of my questions to help them find an answer to their problem that is not working? Or can I do the questions in a way that they explore if that is something that they really want to do for who they are? So this is the self-identity concept that I was mentioning. So sometimes we are looking for a particular answer, sometimes we are looking for an interesting question, and sometimes what we are looking for is for a change, that we go into a different direction. Yeah, to cut something, to stop an attachment, or to connect to the soul, to find my identity, these kind of things. Then there's questions, japa, means repeat. There's questions that you ask them and the other person will answer something completely different. And it generally happens, they generally go towards what is common, what is familiar, or what they are attached to, which is generally their history or their story, and which is linked to their drama and the trauma. So you're asking them about this, and they reply about that. And often they are replying as if you had asked them why. So you may be asking them, but how is it that your mom is doing this? Or how did your mom tell you to do that? And you say, well, because she is angry. I'm asking, how did she tell you? And you're saying, well, because she is angry. Well, I didn't ask why. I said how, right? So generally, very often, when we are doing this, that we ask a question and they go somewhere else, they generally go towards the why. We're going to see that this is the quadrant of the why. We're going to see every quadrant has a question. We're going to see this in a minute. But that's very typical. We ask a question and they go somewhere else. So sometimes it's in the service of conversation. We go that place where they are going and we carry on from there. But sometimes the service is japa. Ask again. Ask again. Well, you didn't reply to this question. Let's try again, with a lot of patience and caring and love, not necessarily confronting, but sometimes yes. Sometimes it's like, well, you haven't answered. Did you realize you didn't answer the question? I wonder why that is. Right? You are not telling them, you're not answering me the question. You are saying, I wonder what that is. And you are in a way asking them again, why are you not answering that question? What is it in you that is not letting you answer that question? That's interesting to me. So in a way, what you're asking for their help to you so that you can serve them, right? They come to you, they are asking your help with a therapy or a session or whatever. And then you're, well, I'm here to serve you, but the way you are talking is not helping. So can you help me to serve you? No? So in that way, you don't have to say it like this, but in that there is a right way to ask questions that implies this. And sometimes we actually have to say it. You need to help me. I cannot serve you. I cannot help you with what you are saying. I don't know how to help you, so you can put it like that. I don't know, by the way, is something that's the language of the 4 and 6. That would be here. The I don't know is the unknown. Some questions we will ask them to go into the unknown, to explore the part that the other person is not wanting to explore, or willing, or they are afraid to explore, or they never even considered it because they are not conscious of it. So this is the quadrant of consciousness, and we want to bring consciousness to the thing that is unknown. I was going to write consciousness, but I'm actually going to write it in another color, because this is the voice of consciousness. Let me write it like this. This is the voice of consciousness. This is the voice of my desire and my needs. This is the voice of the soul, 1 and 9. And this is the voice, let me write it here, of the mind. So when we're asking questions, we are talking to one of these, to the soul, to the mind, to the needs and the desires, or to the consciousness of the person. Let's go back to the 4 and 6. So we are opening to the unknown through questions. Anytime we are opening a question, and you have to understand, there's something to be very aware of as well. That person came to me to ask a question. Well, he could have gone to anybody else, but he came to me. Well, in a way, this is what I offer. I'm going to offer bringing awareness of the unknown. I'm willing to go into some place where they have never been. So I'm very ready to have these weird, strange, unknown, uncomfortable conversations, because we're going to get out of the comfort zone. If we want to grow, we have to get out of the comfort zone. So I've learned through the years to get very comfortable with uncomfortable conversations. And that means asking uncomfortable questions and going into the unknown. I'm fine with that. And I have to trust that if they came to me asking a question, then they are looking for that. Otherwise, they would go to somebody else. So that would be my awareness. I allow myself to be myself in the way that I am, to explore the unknown with them and help them have a connection to that aspect of the unknown. And you do that through questions. So that's the relationship to the unknown. And yes, some of the questions are designed to stop some pattern or to cut some pattern. But this is the quadrant of silence as well. And even though we ask some questions to stop whatever is happening, to find some silence, we should also be aware not to try to ask questions to fill the void and to fill the silence. Listening. Now, listening is something that is from the 10, 5 and the 10. 5 is speaking, 10 is listening. Yeah. Listening is not a tool. Listening is not a tool. Listening is a state. And you get to that state through the silence. So through the silence, you get to the listening. Yeah? 4, 5. Or you can see 4, 6 and 5, 10, let's say. So asking questions, you are helping to stop a pattern that was within the other person. Remember, this is the attachment and these are the patterns. So this, you are helping to stop this. You stop it. A silence is produced. And now we have a chance to go into listening. And one of the things that we are listening is to the other side, which is the soul. So you see, we connect soul with consciousness. We become aware of the soul rather than getting trapped between the desire of our mind. You see how it works? the desire of the mind, and then we get trapped here. So we have to, through the art, this is art, 4 and 6, remember? 4 and 6. Through the art of asking questions, we help to cut the pattern, to stop the pattern of the desires of the mind, and then connect to the unknown, and in the silence that is produced, connect to the soul. We can hear the voice of the soul. And hearing that, listening would not be a tool, that would be a state. Does it make sense? So a few things that I ask myself every time I have a client or a student or somebody coming to talk to me. One is what I just mentioned before. I allow myself to be myself because for some reason they chose to talk to me. So I allow myself to be myself. And then, but if they came to me, why did they came to me? Why did their soul, why did this person's soul bring them in front of me to talk to me? There will be something of this interaction that is for me, by the way. I'm going to take it as a reflection. Any conversation is a mirror to myself, so I'm going to take that for myself. But in the service I can do to them, I ask myself, how did the soul of this person bring them to me? Why? What is the purpose of this soul having a conversation with me right now? And if I can have that in the background, that's something that is going to serve my interaction with them. So that's one thing that I ask myself. And the other thing that I ask myself very, very, very often is, okay, I'm talking to this person, and let's say a student of mine, because I'm a teacher, so I have a student, and I say, well, okay, can I have a vision, an intuitive perception of what their destiny is? So what is the destiny of this person? And then if I can see the destiny, I can kind of see the direction in that going there. And then I ask myself, okay, in the direction of that destiny, what is the next step that they can give? The one step. Don't try to get them to the destiny, but one step. What is the one step that they can walk along the path in the direction towards their destiny? So this 4 and 6 is connected to destiny. 1 and 9 is one step. Yeah, one step towards the destiny. So they are trapped here. We are all here trapped, and we want to get here. So I ask myself, okay, that soul brought them here in the space where I am. Now, what is the destiny of this soul? And what is the one step that they can give? Okay, and when I have a perception, and it's generally an intuition, an intuitive perception of that, then what question can I ask to bring them closer to give that one step? And it may be something like what I said at the beginning, like, what do you need to give that step? If that step is already clear, that's very often not clear, and we have to talk about that. Sometimes the step that the client or the student thinks that they have to do, they say, well, they come with some ideas. I need help because I want to get here. I want to do this. And you see that that's not going to be in line with their destiny. That's in a different direction. So helping them achieve that is not going to serve their purpose in a way. So part of the conversation is going to have to be as a reflection and a self-reflection for them to explore, is this aligned with my path? And if so, if it's aligned with my destiny, what is the one step I can give? And if so, then how can I give that step? And that may include talking about what do you need to give that step. That would be the 2 and the 8. Or how are you going to give that step? Or what is the most important in giving that step? Or why do you want to give that step? Or when do you want to give that step? So you see the how and the why, the when and the why or the what. This is going to come afterwards. But that's going to be the next element, the next ingredient into this conversation we are having right now today. Because that's going to be the different kind of questions that then we can give for stimulating the connection to one of these different voices, because every one of these quadrants is going to have a number. This is the exploration of questions, what questions are, the meaning of questions, why do we ask questions, and the purpose of questions, everything that is behind questions. And now we should look at what kind of questions can we ask and where are they going to be taking us. So I mentioned one thing and I didn't resolve it. I mentioned the structure of a question. I didn't mention what this structure is. I think it's worth mentioning something a little bit about this. So any question, I don't know if I should write it here. I'm gonna write it here anyway. Any question has an intention. Intention is actually two things. It's an impulse and an intention. I'm thinking how we were talking about, sorry, I'm changing a lot the screen. I'm talking about tools. Ek on car. Yeah, car is a tool, is a vehicle. Now questions are like vehicles and they can take us from one point to another. Now, where do we come from? That's giving us the impulse of where we are right now. And where are we going to? That's the intention of the direction and the objective. Remember, this is the 1 and 9, yeah? Direction and the objective. So the intention and the impulse, that's going to be where do we come from and where are we going? And how is the question going to serve as a vehicle between where we are, where we come from, and where we are going? So when we create and when we formulate a question, this impulse and intention behind should be there in the question. If we leave it too open, it just triggers more of the attachment and the story and history that we get very often trapped into. So, from where to where, that would be one. Another aspect of the question is the feeling that is behind the question, and the feeling with which I am asking this question. Sometimes when we ask a question is to help somebody recharge part of themselves. They feel that they have some emptiness, some. Let me give an example. It's too abstract, so I feel the need to give an example. So somebody chose to leave their parents' house, go to another country, find a job, and be autonomous, self-sufficient, self-reliable, and find her life. This girl, okay? Now, let's call her Paula. Paula left her family, went to this country looking for, independence, freedom, and self-reliable, and so on. And then 5 years later, now she's trapped in a situation where she feels that she found a job that is helping her, because it was very hard to get a job. Now she has a job. She has enough income to sustain herself, to support herself, but she's not where she would like to be, and she's afraid to leave the job because it's very difficult to find a job, and she feels like she has no courage to actually do it. So there's an emptiness where that initial impulse, the initial charge of I want to be independent, has been kind of lost. And after the 9-to-5 day-to-day operation, she has been seduced into taking a comfortable position and now hypnotized by that routine that everybody does. And she asked herself, I would like to explore who I am. This is why I started traveling, but now I'm caught in this job and I cannot go anywhere because I have to keep working in this place, because otherwise it's very difficult to find a job. And she feels Paula feels that doesn't have the courage. So sometimes in this context, okay, we can ask her about the motivation that made her leave her parents' house. By talking about that, it's not about judging whether it was right or wrong. And that will depend a lot on the feeling that you give to the question with which you ask the question. The way in which you ask the question is to help her to reconnect and in a way recharge herself with that passion, that courage, that ambition, that lovely vision of herself, independent and so on, to gather again all those feelings and stop feeling like she doesn't have courage. She was very brave to do that. Now, can you reconnect again with that bravery? Because it's inside of you. So you can ask these questions to recharge her. That's an example. It could be the opposite. It could be to discharge. Somebody is overloaded with stuff in their head that they have been thinking too much, too many thoughts. And sometimes you need to ask the kind of question that is going to discharge all those thoughts, because that's not even important. Think about this. Let's talk about this. No, but I want to let's talk about this. It's like, don't invest any more energy there. So again, the way you can ask the question is it may help the other to discharge. So discharging of energy invested or lost in a particular aspect, that could be part of the question. What are you, in the way you are communicating, which is going to be linked also to the attitude. I'm leaving a space. I'm going to write something else. The attitude with which you do it. So there's the very same question said with different tones is going to have a dramatic different impact. And one will feel like, the other one is like, oh, they will feel like you are judging them. The other one, they will feel like you're manipulating them. The other one, they will feel like you are encouraging them. So the tone and the attitude in which you are creating that question is going to be super important. So it's not just about the words, because sometimes in these trainings, I often find like, but how do I ask that question? And they are too concerned about what to ask, the words to ask, and the attitude is just wrong. This reminded me another example. There was some guy who wanted to meet girls. He wanted to have a girlfriend, and he was like, but I don't know how to approach women. And then seeing his friend doing it, like, you make it look so easy. So what did you say to her? And they want the pickup line. And he said, oh, I said that. And he takes it, and then he goes, he says the line, and fails miserably, right? Because it's not just which words you say, the actual message. And by the way, the message itself, that would also be here. Yeah. We're going to explore this a little bit more in a minute. The actual message is a small part. In an interaction where we are speaking, there is all sorts of nonverbal cues, including tone of voice, position of the body, that are going to be giving meaning to what you are saying, or they are going to show the others there is an incongruence between what you are saying and how you are feeling inside. So the attitude with which you ask the question is going to be very important, and changing the tone of voice and the position of the body and the way you speak, even the angle of your face when you are speaking, that's another fascinating topic. Exploring the way you talk, how you position your face, that's going to have a different impact on the person. We're entering into magical land already. That is really, really incredible. So that would be also interesting to explore when we are asking a question. Not just which words do we say, but that. And then there's the form of the question itself. So the structure of the question and how do we formulate it. All right. I don't want to go any deeper on this because I want to go into the 5 questions. So which are the 5 questions that are going to be? This is all let me do something. Let me change the page. I don't want to make it seem like these questions are, it's two different things. This is an overview of all the different elements of asking questions. Now, when we ask questions, there's 5 of them. Well, kind of 5. And every question is going to be stimulating one of the 4 quadrants, well, 5 quadrants really. I'm going to make it in green. Where, which, what? The most important is what. But the others are also going to be connected. Why is another one? Okay, what? When we are asking what, or when we are asking where, or when we are asking which, we are asking for one thing. So which direction? That direction, one direction. Where is it? Right here, 1 point. What is it? Is exactly this. It's a pen. It's one thing. We're looking for the one. So when we are asking somebody this kind of question, the questions of what, we are asking them to connect to the number 1. Now that can have, it can be in a number of ways, but the most simple way to express this is that we are trying to help them to connect to this side, to the 1 and the 9. So when we're asking for the what, we want to know this. Now this is also connected to the date of birth, but I don't want to complicate things. But mainly, this is it. We are asking the what, they are going to be responding from, we're going to be hoping, we're stimulating the answer to be within the realm of 1 and 9. I didn't say that they're going to be responding from here, because I mentioned before, sometimes we ask a question and they respond from the why. Now this is the why. When we ask what, we are asking about the event, about what happened, about the actual message, about one thing individual. When we're asking where, which, we're asking from where to where. So a direction, a path. You will see how this is connected to what we were just writing. Yeah, the direction, objective, the message. Now remember, the 1 and the 9 is the quadrant that is connected to the soul, which means that when we are asking the what, we are trying to bring the soul's intelligence into the conversation. Yeah. Satnam Infinity, hello, welcome. So if there is, I changed my mind. Okay. I'm going to do it here. I'm going to write it here. I was trying to avoid one thing, but it doesn't matter because it's all connected. Okay. The what, which I just said, it includes the which and the where. So when we are asking for the what, we are stimulating the voice of the soul. So when somebody is too much in the mind, they are too focused on speaking about the why. The why is reasoning, is explaining, is very often justifying. It's about giving us more of the story and the history of what happened. Why did it happen? Why did it have to be like that? And so if we, in a conversation, ask a question why, it's going to stimulate even more the mind. And generally, that's not what we need. Generally, there's already a lot of the mind, which doesn't mean we don't have to ask why. Why is not an evil question, okay? This is 3 and 7 is judgment, and sometimes it may judge itself and say why is evil. The question why is not evil. So especially at the beginning of a consultation, when we're getting to know somebody for the first time, there is a lot of unknown factors that we haven't engaged with yet. And we are talking to somebody, and we need to find out a little bit more the details before we can start engaging into a particular direction. So asking why is going to give me, okay, it's like, give me a little bit more of the story. I need a little bit more of the story to see where is this going. So sometimes it is necessary to ask this why. When we are asking for why, we often ask for a little bit more explanation. Now, why would we want the more explanation? Because what we want to find out is what is behind that. Right? Do you remember? This is like the earth, and inside there is the bones, the dinosaur bones hidden. So by asking why, we are hopefully connecting enough with, so that we can find what was the intention, why they did that. So if I'm asking, so why did you do it? You can hear in the voice, why did you do it? There is from my part, it may be like, oh, I'm interested to know the intention of why you did it. Now, intention, we know that is something connected to the direction and the objective. Yeah, I want to go in this direction. This is my intention, to go in this direction. That's why I do things. But when you ask somebody, why did you do it? Very often, rather than showing the intention, which the intention is connected to the soul, they're going to tell you about the reasons why they did it. They're going to justify themselves, and they're going to enter into, when you enter into justification, remember, justification is the 7th step to hell. So that's not going to serve. That's going to be more earth that you're going to have to be excavating. How to have a one-to-one session with me, and for how much? You can contact me through the email I have in the information tab of the channel, of YouTube channel, and it's 80 euros for one session. And but you can contact me privately through there is an email there in the information tab of the channel. So asking the why, it may be necessary to extract more information to find out where we are, but we are always interested into where we are. You see, the where, what is behind, what is the intention behind that. So that's the question of what. We may go deeper into now, because we could do like a whole video on just asking what questions, what kind of, how to evolve the what question, and we will probably do that. But we will do that when we get to the 1 and the 9. Or actually, probably when we get to the 1, which is right after this course. We are doing a course on number 5 right now. And if you remember, we were doing on the 7 before. And that's when we talked about explanations and justification and all that. That's covered already. And that would be the why. So we are doing a course on number 5. When this finishes, we will start a course on number 1. And then we will talk about the what. Let me make a note for myself. So I remember. When we get there, we will get there. What? Why? How? How? Life and death is time, is linked to time. And this quadrant is everything that happens in time, in relationship to time and through time, including how we do things throughout the time, the method that we utilize it, the know-how of how we did it. That's all connected to this diagram. So how questions, this diagram, not to this quadrant. So how questions are going to be stimulating the 2 and the 8. How something was done. But again, very often you ask how and they explain the why. So if they explain the method or the structure of how they did it, that's going to be going over here again. How is also going to help us reveal what is behind the needs and the attachments that could be behind the actions. Now when That's another one. This one is for 4 and 6. So when we're asking a when question, that could be a number of things. It could be to serve as a shock. So when are you going to start doing that? Right? So I know I have to do this because it will be good for me. So when are you going to start? Right? It's like, boom, direct. Remember that this is cutting, the sword, which cuts and stops. We've been going on and on. I have to do this because it's good for me, but I don't find it. When are you going to start? Right? It can be cutting and it can be quite dramatic, can be quite shocking. You have to check when the person is ready to receive it. But the when is asking for a commitment. It's asking for when are you going to put your heart? Didn't I say this is the voice of the soul, this is the voice of desire, this is the voice of mind, this is the voice of the heart or consciousness, we call it, heart or consciousness. So it's like, when are you going to put your heart in it? When are you going to commit? When are you going to start? When are you going to do it? This is a way to find the commitment or to take responsibility. But it doesn't have to be like that. The when can be a moment of touch, or it can be simply like a curiosity, like you're curious. So when is this going to happen? Or when is this happening? Or when do you feel like that? Or when do you explore like that? Or when do you do these kind of things? That kind of when is more like a curious thing that you want to explore a bit more of that aspect, which is kind of linked to the unknown, helping the unknown to speak in a way. So when is a petition, is a shock, it's a curiosity, it's to serve the other one, it's to ask for a commitment and responsibility. This is when is a question that is designed to talk about a moment. When something happened or when something is going to happen is to talk about a moment, a particular moment. So the moment that something happened, the moment that the what happened, or the moment that a decision was made, when a choice was made. All right, and the final question is the who. The who is a question that stimulates the identity. So who is the one who is doing that? Who is the one who's going to do that? Who is the one who has to initiate that? And in a way, it's connected to the when as well, to see if the person who is speaking is that they are committing themselves and they're like, no, me, I'll do it. Yeah? Or finding clarity into so who is speaking now, or which part of you is speaking right now, is to try to connect to the identity within myself. When they are speaking, I mentioned there's different voices. There's the soul, there's the mind, the desires, the heart. And it's like, well, so asking who questions can help to connect to that. Which part of me is talking? Which voice in me is speaking from? Which voice in me I'm speaking from? Okay. Now, I have to say one thing as well. This is the what, the how, the why, and the when. It doesn't mean necessarily that I have to start the phrase with this word. Okay, if I want to talk about the objective or the direction that we are moving, you don't have to say, so what is the direction you are going? You don't have to start with what. Sometimes they may even have a why in front or a how in front, the way you ask the question, but you are implying a what. You are asking for the direction of the other particular direction. But in any case, in front of any doubt, you can just approach it from a what. Find a what, or a how, or a why, or a when, or a who question, and it's going to help. So, for example, if I'm in a consultation with somebody, and the first part of a consultation, I will be listening to the person, and I will be here just listening and paying in that state. Remember, listening is not a tool, it's a state. And I'm listening, and in myself, I'm whatever they are saying, I'm writing it down. And then I have, I write a lot of things here. Then they're talking about this, I write about this. And then they're talking about this, I'm writing about this. And the conversation is going on, and I'm taking mental notes of everything. But this is empty. I don't see anything here. I don't hear anything. They're speaking, and I don't hear anything from here. Well, then, now I'm going to think about this. Needs, life, fuel, attachment, how. I'm going to take all of these water, taste, roots, dreams, right? I'm going to take their date of birth, and I'm going to see their relationship to father and all these things. I'm going to take all of that and think, in the context of what they are telling me right now, which of the elements of the 218 that are connected to that topic, what can I ask about? And then I would formulate a question in the how realm to try to connect with that concept that is missing in the conversation. And sometimes just by bringing the quadrant that is missing, it helps already to untangle some of the things. And sometimes it's not. Sometimes you have to go a bit deeper, and sometimes you have to evolve it. And especially very often you have to go through a sequence. And then in that case, you're going to have to follow, like when we were doing 1, 2, 3, 4 sequence, and part of the conversation is going to be here, and then you're going to have to move here, and then we're going to have to go here, and then we're going to have to end up here. And maybe you are here, and then they jump back to here. Okay, we go back to here, but then where are we going? So you have to be very, like, you are in the conversation, you are being aware of the conversation, but at the same time behind that conversation, you have to be paying attention. Which sequence are we moving on? How is their date of birth? How can I ask the question to go in the direction that we have to go to complete the sequence? Sounds a bit complex. It is a bit complex. This is more advanced when you know a bit more about numbers and about sequences, but it's the basic idea. This is it. That's the final result of today's conversation. Hopefully it was useful. There is so much more that we could go into, and indeed we will go into different examples and different aspects, like when we will explore what on the number 1 and so on, the know-how of the how and the know-how of the know. We will explore it on the number 2 and things like that. But I hope that this is of service for a start. I think for today is enough. Thank you for everyone who was watching. As always, don't forget to like the video if you enjoyed it and share it with others. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and hope to see you here again next Thursday. So in 2 days, I will have another stream, and then I'm going on holiday, so I will not be streaming for a little while. But all throughout next week, I will be posting videos from past live streams that I haven't edited, and I have been editing them, and I will post them. So you will have some content to go through, some poems, some beautiful philosophical concepts from yogic teachings. So there will not be an empty week. You will just have some past live streams. Until next time, thank you very much. Sat Nam.